hottest goddess with the Love Movement Podcast and IntellectualRadio.com. And beside me, I got my lovely co-host, Miss Money Minded Toya Capri,
That's me.
and our special guest for today, Eros, the poet. At the end of the day, but I'm definitely going to give him an introduction, a grand introduction. But before we do that, I'm going to go into our sponsors, the folks that keep us on live, that pay the bills. So let's get to it. Special shout out to The View. Y'all already know what The View is, located in Broadview, Illinois, next door to the Blue Note, which is one of our other sponsors, Blue Note Jazz Club at 1715 Roosevelt Road. Also, the Village Dispensary, known as Viola Shy. Y'all already know what that is.
Say hi.
Exactly. Johnny Vaughn. We got to make sure we get shut because, Johnny Vaughn, he got so much going on. Offering transportation services for grocery runs, sporting events, casino runs, church shuttle services, family outings, and he probably go to the prison. Ain't no telling what Johnny be doing. He always into something.
Johnny Worldwide.
Exactly. And then we got Kelly with the tax services, KMC Tax Prep, located in Oakbrook, Westbrook Corporate Center, Tower 1, third floor, Suite 300. And let me slow down because folks be saying I be talking too fast. But that's what it is. Book your appointment today with her at 708-408-8760. And if you are trying to call the Love Line, if you got any questions for either myself, the Money Minded Miss Toya Capri, or Eros the Poet, make sure you call 708-223-8953. And there it is.
It is.
So how you doing, Toya?
I'm good. It's been a long week. Glad it's almost over. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Do
Getting
you
ready
think
for prom.
Wednesday or Thursday is really the hump day?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Shoot.
It depends on which week. Because some weeks, Wednesday for sure is the hump day, but I'm thinking today feeling like Thursday the hump day. Yeah. Look.
That's what it is. You said you was getting ready for prom, so you got a prom.
Yeah, it's
Send-off
so
coming up?
weird. It ain't gonna be no send off. What's less than a send off? I don't know what you would define it as. Off. We're gonna go with that.
Well, one of the reasons being, I think, because you got a boy.
Yes.
So boys don't really put a whole lot of energy into the prom send-offs.
Yeah.
I should say.
And
Some
he's
guys.
very low key. So
Okay.
he would probably be embarrassed if I tried to go too hard. So I already know I got to keep it real calm, cool, and collected because that's not his personality. He don't want nothing over the
Right.
top. I think he would not go if I did something over the top. I'm for real. I'm dead serious.
Now, how does that work when you're having a son? Because I know with the girls, they typically leave from the woman's house, right?
Yeah.
So how does that work with your son? Do y'all have something first and then he goes over to the young lady house and then they leave from there?
So prom is a little different these days. Like if he has a date, he not telling me he has a date.
Well, when he gonna tell you?
Let me tell you, my son is I violated his trust back in a couple of years ago with homecoming. So this is my first child. I ain't got no other experiences to draw from. So I have a family full of ladies. I have 5 other sisters, older sisters. And my son mentioned he was going to homecoming, and I was like, "Oh, so do you have a date?" And he was like, "Yeah, I have a date." I was like, "Oh, so am I gonna meet the parents?" And he's like, "Mom, it's not that serious." So
Right.
I'm like so over the top, and he's so not. So I slipped up and just mentioned it to my sisters, just casually, like, "Oh, Isaiah going to prom, and he got a date, or homecoming, and he has a date." So of course, them being them, they start teasing him about it. You got a date? You didn't tell me you had it. So since then, he has not entrusted me with any other details.
He gonna tell you the day before.
So if he has a date and they're going together, they're gonna meet at prom,
right?
Because he's not telling me anything in between. So my hopes and dreams about the young lady going over to the young lady's house, meeting the parents,
right?
Yeah, all of that was shattered.
Now, Eros, what about you? You're a family man. You got a few children.
A couple
Do
of
you
them
have
running
any
around.
prom goers for this year?
None for this year.
Okay.
My daughter had Roundabout, which, every year there's a dance. It feels like it's prom. There's a new dress. There's nails getting done. I don't want much this year, and that turns into a whole lot.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no prom goers this year. So
Now you
thank God.
did have a prom goer at one point, right?
I did. My oldest son, he's 23 now, though.
Okay.
But
Oh,
much
and you
like,
had a boy.
yeah,
So
much
okay.
like the sister here is just cooler than the other side of the pillow. Not a big deal. They debate up until like a week before if they even want to go. So it's kind of like, it's not really a thing. But for her, like she had her sweet 16 this year. And she turned 16 on the 16th of January.
Wow.
And so it was a whole production. She wanted a Cinderella themed party. She wanted it rented out a banquet hall and the whole shebang. And we all dressed in baby blue. She wanted to like come in, had this grand entrance. Tons of money, unnecessary, but she was happy.
We're going to have to get like the Hispanics and start finding some godparents that's going to help contribute to some of these costs. It'd be too much money.
Crazy
much.
work.
Yeah, but it will not be at all any of that. So glad.
Yeah, count your blessings. That's actually a good thing, though.
Yeah, on one hand, I would love the whole because I'm so over the top myself personally. But on the other hand, I see people doing way too much for prom. And I'm like, you can be spending that money elsewhere. And I'm not judging. Listen, some people, this is their experience. Yeah. They want to make it memorable. So I'm not judging people that decide to make those decisions for their family. I'm simply saying for me and mine, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, maybe about 25 more years when you got your grandchild, you can show up and show out.
I'm looking forward to that.
You might shut that down.
I know he might. Oh my God. You're right about that.
But tell us about any of the hot topics.
Well, we got the tariffs. That's been the hottest topic for a long time. I think people didn't understand it's like the overlay for the underlay, which is tariffs, the expense of it all is going to rest with us as consumers. So while Trump is advocating, and I know his little fire has sizzled down a little bit, but when it's all said and done, we are ultimately going to end up paying the price for that. I don't know if you all saw it, but the owner of Amazon,
Jeff Bezos.
Yes, he had initially put out something saying that because of the tariffs, this is the increase in price. Like he was going to tell the consumer the amount of money that they ultimately would have to pay more because of tariffs. But then I guess him and Trump must have had a conversation or whatever. But anyway, they pulled it back where Amazon was not going to release and be transparent like that. But that made me think about, listen, the concept of wanting to address the tariff issue, I was with him up until a certain point, meaning you can do that. And if it was done in the spirit of, hey, listen, we have a lot of countries that we import stuff from, and we're contributing to their economy and building them up, why not make them pay more? I would agree with that part. I didn't agree with his messaging, meaning he was very abrupt about it. And I felt like he pissed off a lot of people that we had good relationships with.
Right.
And then the other side of that is when you peel apart the layers, it ultimately would have resulted in us picking up the expense of those tariffs. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors behind it too. But the spirit of it at first, I was on board with. I just didn't like how he communicated it.
Okay. I agree. Do you watch football, Eros?
I do.
You do?
I do.
So did you get a chance to watch the draft?
Of course I did.
Okay. Yeah. How did you feel about Deion Sanders' son?
Well, I may be a bit biased. I'm a big Deion Sanders fan. And I was very proud of the work that he did in Boulder, Colorado. I think that he went down there. He really, truly stimulated the economy there. I think he did a phenomenal job with promoting the place. He brought in millions of dollars in branding and all the things that he did. And then, at the core of what he's done, outside of, what people may feel from an arrogant standpoint, he actually really, truly pours into these young men. He's not just playing, coaching football players. He's really, truly trying to instill good values into men. And I think that sometimes part of growing up and becoming a man is that no one really teaches you, one, to be confident in the right things. And I think he really pushes confidence in the right thing, being confident in being a man of integrity, knowing thyself, right? And then really truly knowing your worth and your value.
Absolutely.
And I think Shador and his sons are a true example of that, right? They walk with their heads held high.
Right.
They're not holding their heads down. They can make eye contact with you. They're not intimidated by age. They're not intimidated by wealth. They're not intimidated by any of those things that most young players who don't know what to do in those spaces, they may shrink in front of power. His sons don't. And so I think that correlated to him disrupting the status quo, right? Which is like, oh, okay, you got the nerve to step in front of this room on this platform and tell us what you are and aren't going to do, when most young men will not do that. They're so grateful just for the opportunity.
I love him.
And I was proud of Shador. I was proud of, even through it when he didn't get drafted first round or second round or third round, he still was like, it's in God's hands, and whatever God decides to do is what he's going to do. And so just that grace that he had for himself, knowing himself, I felt it was shady of the NFL to treat him that way. But I feel like at the end of the day, he still prevailed. He's still going to win. And, if the cards are stacked against you and you're playing from the bottom, you got nowhere to go but up. So
how did you feel about the speech for the owner of Colorado? Do you think he could have had a lot more enthusiasm, being excited to have him now on board? Or
oh yeah, you mean for Cleveland? For the Browns, the coach that so they mentioned, like, they had the video footage of how they reacted when they,
and I know they added a lot of things too.
And then plus too, the call is made before it's televised, so we see what happens after the crowd. We find out later.
You're right.
However, that being stated, you do know you're on camera.
Yeah.
And the lackluster response did concern me. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, we were tired. That's BS.
Yeah.
Right. Like, even if you're exhausted, you still show your player that you are happy to have them come. And I just think from an optics standpoint, it was a dirty statement, even in the way that they reacted. I didn't care for it personally. And people are like, oh yeah, we monitoring people's reactions now. But
the way they said it sounded like he was saying, we doing you a favor.
Exactly. But that's the mindset, I think, of the NFL. The NFL has always been, there's a poet who does this super dope poem about the NFL. And like how it really is in some ways still, shout out to Black Chakra, still like a slave auction almost sometimes. Just even the whole mindset behind it. Like, these are young men who you're making millions and millions of dollars off of their labor. And you may say, well, we pay them millions. Yeah, that's true. But that's a fraction of what you get paid for them. Right. Yeah. And this whole come to the table and just sit down, shut up, be grateful, and don't say nothing and don't disrupt things is crazy, because I think you have to lose a bit of your dignity as a man in order to really like stand out in that space. And I think that's kind of shady sometimes.
Yeah. And do you feel like they are confusing our confidence with arrogance?
Always. Always. I think that
I
think that the nerve to be confident in anything is really just you being able to tap into whose you are and who you are. I think for years as a culture, we've been very confused about who we are. And unfortunately, that's correlated into us moving like we should just sit and thank everybody multiple times just for being in a room that we work to be in, which is where imposter syndrome comes from, which is where all these feelings that we have, like, okay, well, I don't want to do anything to make people mad, so I'm just going to sit here and be quiet. And you're sitting here riddled with talent. Exactly. And we almost have to apologize for it. And that's unacceptable. And so, yeah, I don't think that they mistake our confidence for arrogance. I think they just want to call the confidence arrogance. And I think that that's the key demarcation line, is that they call it arrogance because they know that may cause us to pause. And
it to me, why would I have an issue with somebody being confident in themselves if I don't have? To me, it's a reflection of their intimidation as well as their own insecurities, because 100%. I would not be uncomfortable with somebody showing up and being in the room with me that's confident. In fact, that energy should boomerang. That energy should be something that you're feeding off of. So I think that his point is most people, people have a tendency to, when you see someone who's operating in confidence and high vibrations and all of those things, that energy can intimidate some people. And I think that that's exactly what happened. Moreover, their father intimidates most people, and it's just simply him. Now he was cocky at one point. Now,
Yeah, but I feel like it was a fun cocky.
It was fun.
That's like I see him. I see Muhammad Ali.
Yep.
You know,
but there's strength in being a black man who know who he is and whose he is.
Yeah.
And so even if it was perceived as jokey to someone else, and I won't get into the race divide, but to some others that may be perceived as being cocky. And to your point, sometimes you have to water down who you are in order to fit in certain spaces. I don't like it either. I agree. But it's the truth though.
Yeah, and I think that's so then that starts another conversation about whether or not we want to be in spaces where we have to water ourselves down, right? Because I do agree. Like, I work in the corporate world, and sometimes people are afraid to show up as their full self because they don't know the implications that'll come from doing so. But I have a motto I live by, which is any room that I go in, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm not kind of there. I'm not halfway there. All of me is there. And to the point that she made that I love is that, yeah, you're right. I think that the alternative to being confident is lacking confidence.
Yes.
And when people lack confidence, they walk in the room and they stumble over their words. They don't produce. They don't perform as well as they normally do. And then what do people say? Oh, he just needs to get his confidence back.
Yeah.
And the minute you get your confidence back, see, and I think that the difference between the two is confidence is the ability to know that I can do this and I will do it. It's not saying I'm better than you. You can never be better than me. Like, it's not putting others down. It's just building self up.
Right.
And that's the strong difference between the two. And I think that they want him to walk in with his head held down, break him, until then his confidence becomes in them and not in his own abilities.
Absolutely.
And that's the mistake. And that can't happen ever.
Love it. See, that's why you're a poet. The words are so profound. It gets on my nerve. But yes, we coming off National Poetry Month.
Yeah.
I hate we couldn't have you last month because that would have solidified it. But at the end of the day, we don't need a certain month to put it down. At the end of the day, we got you for the month of May, and we're gonna kick it off.
Amen.
But as I stated before, giving you a grand introduction, we got Eros the poet in the building. And I label you as a world-renowned poet simply because you have been invited outside of the country, different states, different cities, or whatever. At the end of the day, you cold-blooded. I heard you. I remember one time I was doing a pop-up at a venue with Robin Bobo. And it was a bunch of women there. I don't even recall if there were any men. You could have been the only man in the building.
Maybe so. That happens a lot.
Well, not including her husband, because he's on the scene at all times. And shout out to Robin Bobo, by the way. Sure. And I'm in there and I'm working. And obviously I do get a chance to watch shows sometimes, but when you're on business, you're on business at the end of the day. But I heard your voice. I heard the message, and all you hear is women. I know that's right. I said, who is this? So I had to stop doing what I was doing, come see who you were. That was my first introduction to Eros the poet, and you probably had been on the scene for quite some time prior to that, but I'm glad I got a chance to witness it. And since then, I've become a fan, and I'm excited to have you on the show.
Gratitude.
And with that being said, I want you to tell us about Eros, and then tell us about Eros the poet.
Got you. Okay, so thank you for having me.
Not as two different people, but
right.
you know what I mean? Because when you're there, you're there,
so
as you say.
Right, exactly. Every room I'm in, I'm there. So, but no, thank you for having me. It doesn't miss me to just ever have an opportunity to just talk about poetry and art, just be able to connect with good-hearted people. Shout out to Robin Bobo and Darnell Bobo, who both have put me in multiple rooms, and I'm grateful for both of them. They're both amazing artists and business owners, as you know. So Eros, the poet, talk about him first because that's the alter ego I created. The name Eros comes from one of the four subsets of love, right? There's Eros love, there's Philia, there's Storge, and then there's agape love. And Eros love really focuses a lot of his time and attention on romantic love, right? The term erotic poetry comes from Eros love, right? Okay. But when people think erotic, they think, carnal, they think instinctual, they think just mainly sexual physicality.
Nasty.
Right. That's what they think. Just horny people in the crowd just wanting you to say, right? 50 Shades of Grey, exactly. But real true Eros love is about the spark that's created before people get into the physicality of it, right? It's the spiritual thing that exists between two people that creates attraction. And then once that's created, then those feelings like start to evolve. You could take, for instance, when Adam, if you're a Bible reader, that in the beginning he felt anxiety because he saw all the animals with a mate and he didn't have one. And so when he started to long for a mate, and then Eve was created. And when he got to Eve, then he felt like, okay, he got his attachment. And that, to me, is what Eros love is. It's that thing that makes a man or a woman go after one another, or two people who choose to engage with one another, keep that spark alive. And then that leads to physicality. I name myself Eros because that's what my writings focus on the most, the connection between two people. What starts that, right? Where does that happen? First, the eyes lay on one another. Then there's the conversation that's had. Then there's this feeling and this vibe that we get. And then after that may enter into the physical world. And so I love writing about that because I think that that's such a beautiful space and it's such a beautiful thing God has given us to engage with one another in that way. And then life is sparked from that connection, right?
Absolutely.
Like there's the continuation of life from these sparks that we keep on creating. And I think that that's just such a beautiful thing. So I spend a lot of my time talking about love, as most people who follow me would know that. Now, the other side of that is who I am as a person. Christian is my real name. And to be clear, Christian is not some I didn't name myself. A lot of people give me a lot of hard time about that. And Magic coming up in Inglewood telling people your name is Christian. Like it was crazy. Like, and so I started telling people my name was Chris. Or like you can just call me Christian. Because being a black boy in the heart of the hood with a name like Christian, you was immediately soft. Like so I'm like, I hate this name so much. And when I asked my mom, like, man, where you get this name from? She was like, I just wanted something different. I'm just like, okay, here you go. Typical black mama.
And she did.
And she did.
Is it spelled like Christian?
It's but there's an accent over the A. Right.
Okay. She got real fancy.
She got super fancy. She thought she was doing something. Let's just put that little mark on top of that.
I always wanted that on my name.
Funny story though is that when I went to Paris for the first time, I went to a bank and the guy had called me and he was like, Monsieur Christian, and I'm just like, what you just called me? And he was like, he had said my name the right way. And for the first time, I called my mom like, it's French. I was so excited because I couldn't believe that someone said it naturally. And so now, since then, and shout out to K Love because I'll tell you this. I still, even after that, had issues with telling people my real name or even correcting them about my name. And she told me, she said, King, your name is one of the only ways that people know that you are here and that you existed. Your name is an affirmation. And every time they speak that name, they speak you into existence. And do not allow people to talk you out the room by calling you someone that you're not.
Exactly.
And since then, I've always been insistent. Like, if you know me personally, you can call me by my real name.
And get it right. Don't call you no Christian. None of that.
Exactly.
Or Chris.
Exactly. Who you
say your name.
Right.
Exactly.
Right, so.
Quick thing, we're going to get back into that because I first of all, I shouldn't be cutting you off talking about yourself.
You're fine. You're fine.
I'm gonna give you some more time to talk about yourself too. We got a call on the line. Hit that button for me, Toya. Welcome to the Love Line. Who are we speaking with? Oh Lord.
I should know. Sorry.
What's going on, Musty Man?
Name Chris.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm so sorry. You are absolutely right.
Wrong with the name
I'm
Chris.
sorry, Chris.
If you could be from the hood, you could be from anywhere. Ain't nothing wrong with the name Chris.
Amen.
Rose, we appreciate you blessing our show. Thank you for blessing the show. Ladies, y'all holding it down. Y'all doing a great job. I am sitting back, relaxed, chill.
I bet you are.
Show. And I like the confidence part because a lot of people mix confidence with being cocky. Because I don't do it the way you do it, don't mean that I'm cocky.
Yeah.
You know, people do things their own way. So, but I just want to say, ladies, I appreciate it. And Mr. Rose, thank you for blessing the show. You got a heavyweight team right there.
Hey, now.
Heavyweight team.
You just got off the plane today?
Yeah, I got off the plane today, but I bought y'all some gifts. I don't know if I should.
That's what I'm talking about.
See?
No, just stick with the plan, man.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna hold my tongue because I was gonna say something, but I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm gonna wait till you get here.
Wait till I
get my gift.
Wait till we get the gifts.
There you go. All right.
All right.
That's how it works. But
Much
hey,
love.
ladies, y'all go ahead and take care of your business. I just want to say hi and let y'all know I was watching the show.
There it is.
All right. See you later.
Okay.
All right.
Be safe.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that's what it is. The Musty Man. Back to Eros the Poet. We were just finishing off with you telling us exactly where the name Eros originated from, or how you came up with that name. How long have you been doing poetry?
So I've been performing poetry for 20 years now. I started as a teenager. In my junior year of high school, I started writing poetry. So like 21 years now. So shout out to Quan Burton. He was my British literature teacher, Black man in junior year, who taught us the writings of Edgar Allan Poe, Shakespeare, Tupac, and Biggie. And
that sounds like a very fun class.
One of the best classes ever.
Yeah.
In fact, most of my vocabulary came like during that period of my life, because every day he would put up a new word on the board and he was just like, you guys need to learn this word. We were looking at words like dichotomy and like demarcation, and he taught me the vernacular and all these crazy words that I still use to this day, trying to sound smart. But shout out to him, man, because I started writing then, and it just sparked, at that age for me, I was going through a lot of identity issues, trying to figure out like what kind of man I was going to become. I didn't have my father in my life. I didn't meet my dad till I was 29 years old. And so I went through this stage where I was just trying to figure out like who was I going to become, right? Like a lot of my family, they took a route that, maybe people didn't want to take. There were some men in my life who were doing great things, but some men in my life that weren't doing some great things, right? And I still didn't know. And the ones who weren't doing great things, it looked great, if you know what I mean, right? And so they was living a life that I kind of wanted to live because they looked cool. They wore the stuff that I wanted to wear. And then, the ones who was kind of doing all right, they look lame to me. You know what I'm saying? So you fighting through that, trying to figure out where you're going to land. And I just started writing and entered into a few competitions. Shout out to Enoch Muhammad. He was one of the brothers that came and grabbed me and put me on a couple of stages. I won a few poetry competitions, won a few talent shows where it wasn't just poetry, because I started rapping at first, but then I turned it into spoken word, and then it just took off from there. Started to build bigger and bigger venues, started to get booked at bigger and bigger spaces, and then I came out on the Chicago poetry scene about 7 years ago, and 2018, and initially thought I was good until I started hearing poetry in Chicago, and I'm like, I'm not good at this at all.
Oh, now
like these poets.
Okay, double back. You're from somewhere else.
No, I'm
You're
from
not
Chicago, but I was doing poetry in like smaller circles. So I was doing it mainly in like a religious realm, right? So I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and so a lot of my poetry was just inside that organization. Okay. And I kept it there for years. And
so you've been wearing suits?
Been wearing suits, dressed up every day. You probably knocked on y'all doors a couple times. I was looking at you, and I'm like, man, I feel like she didn't let me in that time when I was trying to just give you a tract or a magazine. There wasn't nobody on that phone. But anyways, the point that I'm so I started writing in that space, and we did a lot of shows, 500 folk shows, and it was really just all religious based stuff. Okay. And then I stepped outside and started to come into Chicago, and I went to Eddie Sundays. I always tell this story because this is where I got my start on the scene in Chicago. Went to Eddie Sundays, ran by Hood Rays and Darlin Mickey, and walked in the room, thought I was a good poet. Then I heard the likes of K-Love, Dana Dean, Sharon Celeste, Jason Williams, Geronimo Speaks, Authentic, Robin Bobo, Darlin Mickey, Hood, just on a regular lineup for open mic, Momentum, right? Woo. And they just signed up just to perform at a regular open mic. And all of these are booked artists that get paid to do what they do. And I sat there, and then they I think I was the first one there, and I didn't get my name called. And I don't blame them though, because I'm like, I didn't belong. And at that time, I was going by the name, the Prince of Poetry, which was dumb, and I hated the name. I still, I hate it to this day.
Oh, you gotta live up to that name too, getting on that microphone.
It was all foolishness, and so they didn't call me up, and I'm glad they didn't, because I had to go back home and really get better with writing. Yeah. And that's just shout out to the Chicago artistry scene, because that's really what I think is so important here. Like, we have to cultivate great artists, but we don't do that by making people feel bad about not being great writers. We do that by creating the spaces for them to want to be better, right? Wanting to be better has to be self-imposed. And so I went back, worked on my craft, spent years working on it, got really close with my brother Geronimo Speaks, and we had some very hard conversations about writing, and honest and transparent, and the rest is history. And so now
I know you spoke about doing it leisurely, but at what point did you say, I'm great, I'm good at this?
I don't know if I ever said that. I think that I did realize that I was leveling up. I think greatness is such a subjective thing too, right? Because
you can get your Deion Sanders on.
Right, I know, right? I think that I'm great at being true to who I am.
Yes.
The fact that the crowd is or isn't listening is really just like a byproduct of that. Like, because we don't really have control on how long people will listen to us or how long they'll enjoy what we do. And I'm very cognizant of that, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I'm hot today, but in 5 years, there'll be new people on the scene, and they'll be, they'll have the ears of people that I may not ever get, right? Or maybe I'll continue to stay relevant. Who knows, right? But
You will.
I think that for me, I felt like I started getting good when I started writing what I really felt.
Yes.
When I was writing what I thought the crowd would like, I didn't get the reactions that I wanted because I wasn't writing for the purpose. I was writing for the people. Then I started writing for my purpose. And my purpose in life is really, truly to make people realize that no matter where you are, no matter how low you feel like you are or how low you feel like you've gotten, you can come from that place and you can rise up from that space. Just got to have the right level of self-love, the right level of self-awareness, and the determination not to quit, and realizing that you have succeeded and beaten 100% of the days that came before this one because you're still here. And so it's just a matter of just continuing to go forward. So
absolutely. Yeah. Has this been a lucrative skill for you?
I've done all right. I've done pretty good with I've been able to, through the grace of God, the Lord's been kind to us, man. We've been able to take care of my family and use this as a supplemental income. I do okay outside of poetry too, but this has absolutely allowed us to do and explore other things for my family. Like, I got 5 children.
You say, let's be clear. I got a job.
Right. I'm still working, folks. I'm not a starving artist. You don't get to be my size by starving. But I think that I've been able to take care of all of my children, and I'm grateful for that. And provide them with experiences and take them out the country and do different things with them, because poetry has been a financial benefit to my life too. But even with that, like, it's not just a matter of like, oh, I'm looking to get paid for what I do. Geronimo used to say this all the time. He used to say, don't do the poetry for the money, but know that if you just do the poetry from the heart, and then the money will come. Yeah. And you got to be an artist that's focused. You got to get to the bag, which is great. But sometimes when you're just focused on getting to the bag, you can cheat the art. And we've seen that multiple times.
You're trying to write what the people want to hear.
Right. Exactly. And then the people stop liking what they hear eventually. Yeah. Because you've done so much to sell your soul just to get the dollar. I'm not really worried about the dollar as much. I know that that'll come. Just stay true to what you're doing. And if that's one of the blessings God has in line for you, you'll get it.
And how are your kids with your craft? Do they?
Yeah, my son, Caleb, has been performing poetry. He told me the other day, like, yeah, Dad, I think poetry is cool, but it ain't rap. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, okay, that's shade. So, but he is a freestyler. He's a rapper. He's good at it. He's 10 years old. And I've had him do a few poetry events, and he's
a baby. That's why he don't know.
He'll get it eventually. You know what I'm saying? He got some growing to do. My daughter, Kristen, she's a great speaker. She's on the debate team. Shout out to my baby Kristen. She won 4th in the state in debate her very first year, which is great. So she's a talker. She won Youth Poet of the Year, I think, in 2022. And so another great speaker, great poet, great writer.
She might have to come on the Love movie.
Yeah, we might have her out. That'd be dope. And so, and they love it. They love what I do. My kids, it's a running joke that everywhere they go, like, somebody's like, "Oh, Eros," and they like, "Oh, Dad knows everybody," and they just kind of get on their nerves. But I think for me, I'm happy to see them react that way, because I think that it instills confidence in them that their father is somebody, and vicariously I get to live through them, because I wanted that for my own dad. I wanted to be around that man who was just somebody, and so my kids get to see that. I'm grateful for that. And it makes me want to just keep on working on being somebody. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up. Well, you got a chance to meet your father. Did you see any characteristics in him? Yeah. Where you could say, okay, yeah, this is my dad. Like,
man, great question.
Some similarities.
So y'all want to know how it was when I met my dad? I'm gonna tell y'all something. So I hired a private investigator to find my father. I've been looking for my father for years. Okay. And my mom used to tease me all the time, because she was like, "Oh, your dad sent you a child support check," and it'd be like $2.22.
I'm dead.
Every month.
Black mom was bored. They showed her how to throw some shade.
But that's what she did all the time. "Oh, your dad sent you some money." I'm like, "For real?" And it'd be $2.24. I'm like, why did we have to do this to each other? Like, why are we doing this? What have I done?
I'm not supposed to laugh at that.
No, it was hilarious. Ginger Bowie, the funniest woman I've ever met in my life. And so So dad sending me this little bread every time.
Dang, not the little bread.
Sending me this little money every 2 months.
Dang.
This little poetry career money. Get your poetry career started.
Get you a bag of chips or something.
These last $2. Anyway, so sending me this money, and I'm like, man, I gotta find this man. And so I spent most of my life trying to find him. And then when I was, a little older, I had a little money, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna spend some money and find my dad. And I found him. Private investigator found him. Went to his house with my brother Mike, and he was like living in like he was like squatting in a house. And walked in, and my dad doesn't have any other kids outside of me. And his shirt said, "World's best papa." And I
No
said,
way.
Come on now.
You kidding me?
No way.
You couldn't have written a better script, right?
You should have brought that check.
Crazy.
Did you take a
Crazy.
picture?
No, I did take a picture with him. I'll show it to y'all too.
Oh my God.
Hilarious. And so my dad and I, we've had a complicated relationship. He's dealt with some demons over the years. And I think that when I initially met him, I really wanted to, like, the little boy in me was excited.
You deserve that.
Yeah.
But it was that light was quickly fizzled out, just because, obviously I'm watching my dad still live with his current demons, right? Just my presence isn't going to make him a healed man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I was angry that wasn't possible, that I wanted him to immediately say, "Oh, my son's here. I'm going to get myself together now." And I evangelized, I spoke into him. My dad had a stroke, ended up having a stroke, and a couple of strokes. And, it was hard. I remember going to the nursing home and shaving his head and telling him, like, he could start over. Like, life ain't got to end with him, And we got into it. We argued with each other. So that's one thing we do got the same as our temper.
Okay.
Because I was about to put pause on Pop. Like, listen, we can pause on Pop. Listen, come on, man. And I remember he got mad at me because I was trying to shave his head, and he was like, "No, man, you ain't finna shave me today." And I'm like, "All right, listen."
Oh,
listen,
I hope that color
And
purple
so,
scene in
listen,
Roy
oh
Cross
my
show
goodness.
up.
No, we was gonna be talking. I was gonna go to. It was gonna say, "Listen, this man in here hitting a stroke victim," and it was gonna be a problem. But no, we got into it. We argued, and then what he did was he was just irritated. I think that part of him didn't want to be coddled to in that way, because it probably made him feel like he was losing his dignity as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that in retrospect. But then he softened in that same moment. He was just like, "Come on, man, let's just do it." And in that moment, I saw two things in my father that are also in me. One, when we feel a certain way, there is a level of aggression we'll get to immediately. And then there's also the other part of us that will actually chew on the action and then shift in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Arrogance won't stop us from apologizing. It won't stop us from saying, "You know what, let's do the right thing." And I saw that in him. And since then, we've built a much better relationship. And shout out to my dad, Michael Lewis,
Absolutely.
for, the work he's doing himself. So, yeah.
That's what's up.
Great.
You're so dope. Jesus Christ.
Gratitude.
Do you have a question for him? 'Cause I know you
Um,
was trying to say something before.
No, I was just I think the question that I had was, what was the most memorable performance you've had,
Oh,
and
my
why?
goodness. Yikes. That's hard to say.
Got a
The
lot
most
of 'em.
memorable
Right.
performance.
Booked and busy.
Let me see. I think for me, K-Love and I went to the British Virgin Islands for a show. We got a chance to see the entire country there, and it was breathtaking. Just the kindness in this place that was, financially a bit distraught. They had, ransacked the country by a really bad hurricane. And we got a chance to perform there in this room upstairs. And just the impact that I think we made was just such a humbling experience. I think that was probably my favorite place that I've ever performed poetry at, because it felt more like us ministering to them and pouring into them. My most memorable performance, though, I would probably say would be St. Louis. It was the first time I got a chance to do a full feature show in front of my children. And watching my sons react to me performing.
Is this Caleb?
Caleb and Cameron, both of my boys, was extremely powerful. And then the performance that touches my heart the most was the first time I got on stage with Caleb, and we both performed at his school for Black History Month last year. And that time I got a chance to perform in front of him and my 23-year-old. And so I think, art has always been beautiful from that perspective, but especially when I can do it with my children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we know how Beyonce feel with Blue
Oh
Ivy
man, my
and-
goodness, that
and
touched my
Rumi.
whole heart, man. That was
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful.
We got another call coming in. Well, welcome to the Love Line. Who do we have on the line?
Listen, my bad, you cold. You know my friend Jay Ivy?
I do know Jay Ivy.
You do know we live, don't you?
Yeah, I know we live. but
Is
I'm
you sipping on some
watching y'all
Tito's?
live. I'm watching you live.
Somebody, do we know your friend?
Yeah, all of that. But at the end of the day, they kind of talk alike. They kind of got the same message. And I know my boy Jay Ivy. We went on a trip to Barbados together, and I'm feeling you, bro. That's you got a clear message and it's deep.
Man,
Absolutely.
What's funny about that you bring that up? So Jay Ivy is actually related to me through marriage. His wife Tori is my cousin Elvina's first cousin, and Jay Ivy performed on Deaf Poetry. He does this poem called "Dear Father," about a dedication to his dad, and that was the first poem I had ever written. I wrote one called "Dear Father" to my dad. Just being inspired from that. So it all comes back full circle.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? Yeah, he know your friend Jay Ivy. CB.
Yes, okay, you got it, it's all good. No, the brother is
You know what?
I'm really digging on how he putting the information out there. So, but I'm just saying, I'm watching the show. Bye, y'all.
You know what? Goodbye.
Bye.
He started to show his age now.
may as
How
well
you
be
gonna
here.
call somebody and be watching a
Show in the
television show?
background.
I mean,
Twice as crazy. We might
He
as well
just
just
said
be-
something so
Like, might as well
profound.
be
Here
here.
comes CB. Yeah, I but yeah. I see you know my friend. Man, goodbye.
Hilarious.
Don't he call again, don't send him through.
He's on the block list from now on.
Exactly. A quick question. Do you feel like is poetry to you a skill or a talent?
Great question. So poetry, really, I don't know if I would qualify it as either. Because for it to be a talent, I guess that's for the world to decide, right? Like the world has to decide whether or not they enjoy it enough for them to say you talented, right?
Yeah.
A skill, I think, perhaps works because poetry does have a technical aspect to it, right? And so if you really want to write, there are all different variations of the art. You can do several iterations of what poetry is. I think you could develop the skill, and anyone can develop the skill. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good. Doesn't mean it's going to be impactful. I think that the ability to use poetry as a platform to share art that people want to hear, that's a talent.
Yeah.
Being able to get people to reach in their pockets and pay for you to talk to them about art and your art and to say it in a way that they enjoy it, that's a true talent.
Absolutely.
And I think that you have to be called for it. I think that like for people to want to hear what you got to say, that's special.
Do you feel like you demand the room?
Unequivocally. Absolutely.
I know, because you got a humble spirit, so I know you're not coming out there like, yeah, y'all gonna listen to me.
Well,
But-
I'll tell you, that's a great point that you bring up, because I think that every time I wanted to command the room, I failed at it. I don't walk in the room though anymore hoping that the room listens to me. I walk in the room now and I say a short prayer that God, whoever this message is supposed to touch, let it touch.
Yeah.
And let me humble myself and allow your words to be used. And because my message now is really about self-love, inclusion, and seeing self for what you are, that's a message that comes from God. And so I'm very confident that I'm always going to do what I'm supposed to do in every room that I'm in. Now, I have had some training, right? I've been taught how to use the microphone properly, proper pausing, speech.
See, that takes skill.
Yeah. And now a lot of that came from the way I was raised religiously. And the organization Jehovah's Witnesses, they do this thing called the Theocratic Ministry School, and they teach you all these skills with public speaking, right?
Okay.
Sense, stress, and modulation, extemporaneous delivery, right? Proper use of a microphone, proper pausing, and you learn all these things over time. And when you speak, on any stage, that stuff is core. Like it just kind of comes right on over, right? And so it's transferable. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. And so I use that in my art. And I understand the power behind it, because in order to get people to listen to you, you got to give them time to digest the message. You got to know what words to put the right kind of inflection on, right? And all of that is important and plays into the art.
Absolutely. Now, I know you got a lot of people that you admire, that you support, but give me your top. You don't want me to? You
No,
want me
come
to ask
on.
the question?
No, let's go ahead with it. Let's do it. This question
I'm
is
gonna
always
say,
hard
give
for
me your top 5, or maybe I may even let you do 10.
Praise God. Okay, cool. I could do 10.
Because you're gonna
10
feel bad
works.
about
Yeah,
leaving
my
somebody
goodness.
out, I know.
So
And this ain't in no order.
No
We
particular
just
order.
right.
Top 10. Top 10 favorite poets of all time.
Your top 10
top
poets.
10.
It could be your favorite. It could be somebody,
So K Love is hands down to me one of the greatest to ever do it. To
Absolutely.
pick up a pen or to have a message. She is just through and through talented and does it the right way, has the right heart, full of integrity, and cares intrinsically about people.
Yeah.
There's an anointing on her life. Geronimo Speaks. I feel like he is the voice of the hood as it relates to spoken word poetry.
Yes.
What his brain can do with words still baffles me to this day. I go back and listen to his album, and I'm like, did you say this and this and this? And he's talking about an album like that's 10 years old, and I'm like, yeah, that one. Like, I'm still listening to it, catching bars, which is how dope he is.
And it doesn't have to be Chicago.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm about to spread out. So definitely. So shout out to Jay. Black Chakra is also one of my favorite artists. He's from Baltimore. Phenomenal poet.
Okay.
Obi West from California, or Vegas, I think one of the other phenomenal artists. I'm a big fan of Black Ice from Philly, the legendary Black Ice. Actually, when I was coming up, I watched a lot of his art and wanted to emulate what I saw. Phenomenal talent, and what he could do with words is crazy. Amir Suleiman, who's also an artist that I saw on Def Poetry, more of a passionate speaker. And I think that I relate very well to him, because that's kind of also my style of poetry. Shihan was a love poet from Def Poetry, phenomenal as well. And I think that's kind of has a lot to do with the impact it made on my art.
Okay.
Big fan of Robin Bobo, She Unapologetic here in the city of Chicago, both absolutely amazing artists. And I know I'm leaving quite a few folks out, so I'm gonna get some mean mugs and some arrows, but I hope that y'all know that I love all of you. Drea the Poet is also one of my favorite artists that I can listen to. Gemstones, he's not a poet, he's more of a rapper, but Gemstones is one of the goats.
We used to work together.
Yeah, so phenomenal artist, man, and unparalleled when it comes to this art form. And so yeah, man, it's been a good ride.
You was on 9. Give me one.
I'm on 9. Dang. Okay, so let's see. If I put one more person like on my Mount Rushmore of artistry, let me see. Who would I give it to? It's gonna be tough. Oh, you know what? I would give it to Momentum.
Yes.
Yeah, Momentum is. I don't know how I miss Big Bro Mo. Man, but you know what? It's Momentum and it's Jason Williams.
I
both
know.
of them together. That's hard because
I was gonna say the same.
I'm such a fan of both of those brothers,
Yes.
man. When I first heard Jason spit, I wanted to be him so bad. I didn't
I'm
want to just do
gonna
his
tell
art.
you
I
a
wanted to be
story
him.
about Jason.
Yeah.
Right now, you and I spoke about me doing poetry. You
Yeah.
haven't heard me because I was on the scene before you was.
Yeah, for sure.
But listen, we were doing some type of there was a contest. I believe Creative was hosting it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Shout
And
out to Creative.
there was some money involved. Creative, he likes to give away money. I don't know where he be getting all this money from, but he likes to give it away.
Right.
And I was like, I'm for to win this money today. It was about $500.
Wow.
I'm like, I go in the room. Now, not to be on no cocky stuff, but I'm on my Deion Sanders.
Right.
I looked around. I said, I can do
You got
this.
this.
I got this.
Right.
Here come Jason coming out the bathroom. I'm like, oh, no. There go my $500 right there. Not that I'm saying that me and Jason won. And he knew, like, even I think, and I don't know if I'm speaking for him, but he knew it was going to be a challenge too. Now, he wasn't going to just eat me up. We was neck and neck. But I will say, and I told him, I said, man, you could have just stayed in the bathroom when they called out the names, because I could have went home with that fact. And let me tell you what Jason did when he won the money. I see him giving somebody $100.
Yep,
man, I got to pay my
Jason.
rent.
Just like Jason.
You done gave away my winnings. Jesus Christ. I'm
Not
telling
the
him he owed
winnings.
me that $100.
Right. Shout out to Jason, man.
Yeah,
That's so
shout
cool.
out to Jason Williams. Is that his last name?
Yep,
Williams,
yep.
right? Yeah. Now, last but not least, how would you encourage a young person looking to grow as a poet?
Great question. I'm so glad you asked me this question. So I think the first thing that has to happen is if you really want to be successful with spoken word poetry, you got to get past wanting to be clapped for. A lot of artists want to get the attention from the crowd. And so you hear like, people don't support me. Nobody's supporting me. Nobody's like, in my corner. And I think that a lot of times artists may come into this art form and they'll go to an open mic, and the open mic has a very warm and fuzzy feeling. You step up on the stage and you ain't got to rhyme well. You ain't got to speak well. You don't have to do nothing well. And the crowd may clap for you. And now that kind of sometimes creates an arrogance, right?
Yeah.
Now you start to think that, oh, you good at poetry. And like everybody like you. But you got to start learning to separate your friends from your fans.
Exactly.
And your friends are going to tell you good even when you're not good, because they just happy to see you being happy. Fans going to hold you accountable because they want to hear something good.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get fans, I think you really truly have to cultivate the art. You got to spend time with it. You got to take it seriously. You got to be open to feedback. I can't tell you how many times artists have asked me for real feedback about their art. And when I give them real feedback about their art, they are extremely defensive. They, feel like they're being attacked. And it's like, well, if you ask for it, you got to be able to take it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I think that we also kind of create this environment sometimes where people see the accolades others get, and they start comparing themselves. Like, oh, why they like him? It's just a popularity contest.
Yeah.
It has not much to do with popularity. It has a lot more to do with, obviously, integrity is important. You can be a great artist and you can be have horrible character. Overall, just bad character.
Yeah.
Just a bad person, bad vibe. You walk in the room and you just take the life out the room.
Yes.
That can also impact you where
that.
you're trying to go. So if you're a young artist, you want to do well, work on your personality and your integrity as a human being. Be serious and obsessive about the art. But then when you get the opportunity, don't show up late. Don't be arrogant when you walk in the room. Don't act like everybody there owes you something.
Mm-hmm.
If you're there and your purpose is to really, truly pour into the people, be obsessed about that part, and then never stop learning. Never think that you've arrived as an artist and something is owed to you. Nobody owes you nothing. Nobody.
Yeah.
You owe yourself something, though. And you owe it to God to speak while you have the mic in front of you and do it the right way. And I think that if you have that focus, get you a mentor that you're willing to pay to tell you the honest truth about yourself. And then take the feedback, learn, listen, apply, and repeat.
So mentors, they be getting paid?
I do. And I know a few others that do, and you should. Because if you're going to give somebody, and let me tell you something. Let me tell you why that's important. I used to give free advice. Like I just did do. I just gave y'all game. But I'll tell you this. I've given artists advice for free. And free advice is usually advice that people throw to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So if people put a dollar amount behind it, okay, we got to get out of here. But if we put a dollar amount behind it, then they typically are more willing to take the feedback that you give them. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I do not want to close out this show without you giving us a hot 16 or something.
Okay.
And we're going to close out the
Quick
Love
little
Movement
16.
Podcast
All right,
for tonight.
come on, let's get something fast. All right. She gives Where You Been All My Life vibes. Wife vibe. She gives snack, entree, and all the sides vibes. She's been enough. She's everything I want, plus a little more than that, and I can never get bored with that. She's got a business mind. She loves God. Crazy with the energy. Yeah, she with all of that. You see, I get lost in thought when we lock eyes. She got me getting myself together so I can qualify, and I'm vocal about wanting her, and I told her that. But tell me, what's the point of getting the gift if you just gonna fumble that? So I'm working. King-ish, becoming my best. She healing from a bad breakup. I just want a chance to be next. So I'm removing any hex that'll make me an ex. So if she say yes, you ain't got to convince me I'm blessed. If God say do more, I'm like, say less, because she a whole vibe. The type men work their whole life to find. And if God makes her mine, there's no way in hell I'm going to waste her time.
There it is. Love Movement Podcast with IntellectualRadio.com.